what I want to talk about tonight is something really quite normal, and probably for most of you, if you're not married, one of the most important journeys you will go along. So I want to talk a little bit about dating in revival. How do we do? And you go, why is an old guy, like him, talking to us about dating? Well, quite simply, marriage is God's plan. It always has been. I mean, some do not get married for the sake of the kingdom. Okay, but the general God's plan is that you will meet someone, that you will fall in love, and you will grow deeper in love with that person as you grow older. The big question is, how on earth do you do it? How do you find them? You guys have all probably seen this. I hadn't, but as always, I want to be culturally relevant. Okay. So this is someone writing to tech support. Last year, I upgraded my boyfriend 5.0 to husband 1.0. I noticed a distinct slowdown in overall system performance, particularly in the flower and jewelry applications, which operated flawlessly under boyfriend 5.0. In addition, husband 1.0 uninstalled many of our other valuable programs, such as Romance 9.5 and Personal Attention 6.5, and then installed undesirable programs such as NBA 5.0, NFL 3.0, and Golf Clubs 4.1. Conversation 8.0 no longer runs, and house cleaning 2.6 simply crashes the system. Please note that I have tried running nagging 5.3 to fix these problems, but to no avail. What can I do? Signed, Desperate. The response from technical support came, Dear Desperate, first, keep in mind, Boyfriend 5.0 is an entertainment package, while Husband 1.0 is an operating system. Please enter the command, I thought you loved me, HTML, and try to download Tears 6.2. Do not forget to install the Guilt 3.0 update. If that application works as designed, Husband 1.0 should then automatically run the applications Jewelry 2.0 and Flowers 3.5. However, remember, overuse of the Tears application can cause Husband 1.0 to default to Grumpy Silence 2.5, Happy Hour 7.0, or Beer 6.1. Please note that Beer 6.1 is a very bad program that will download the Snoring Loudly beta version. Whatever you do, do not, under any circumstances, install Mother-in-Law 1.0, as it runs a virus in the background that will eventually seize control of all your system resources. In addition, please do not attempt to reinstall the Boyfriend 5.0 program. These are unsupported applications and will crash Husband 1.0. In summary, Husband 1.0 is a great program, but it does have limited memory and cannot learn new applications quickly. You might consider buying additional software to improve memory and performance. We recommend Cooking 3.0. Good luck, tech support. I don't know. Well, there is some truth in some of that, unfortunately. Let me read you. If you've got a Bible, find a Bible, which will probably be more useful to you. Find 1 Corinthians 7. As you can tell, this is not going to be heavy. Let me read you what Paul writes. And 1 Corinthians, certainly this section of 1 Corinthians, is really Paul answering the questions that the church at Corinth have written and asked him. Problem is we don't have the questions. We just have his answers. So he writes to unmarried and widows. He says, now concerning virgins, I have no commandment from the Lord, yet I give judgment as one whom the Lord in his mercy has made trustworthy. What he's saying is, this isn't God telling you what to do. This is Paul speaking out of his resource of wisdom. Okay, and that's what I just want to do tonight. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not saying thus says the Lord. I'm saying from an old guy to young people that are in this church, here is some wisdom. I suppose, therefore, that this is good because of the present distress, that it is good for a man to remain as he is. Are you bound to a wife? Do not seek to be loosed. Are you loosed from a wife? Do not seek a wife. But even if you do marry, you have not sinned. And if a virgin marries, she has not sinned. Nevertheless, such will have trouble in the flesh, but that I would spare you. So what he's actually saying is there's persecution. Paul was seeing persecution coming upon the church. And he's saying, because of this current trouble, you might be better not being married. So stay as you are. If you were married, stay married. If you're not married, don't get married, because we're going into a very difficult season. He says, but even so, if you want to get married, get married. We'll keep going. But this I say, brethren, the time is short, so that from now on, even those who have wives should be as they have none, those who weep as though they did not weep, and those who rejoice as though they did not rejoice. Those who buy as though they did not possess, and those who use this world as not misusing it. For the form of this world is passing away. But I want you to be without care. He who is unmarried cares for the things of the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But he who is married cares about the things of the world, how he may please his wife. There is a difference between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman cares about the things of the Lord, that she may be holy both in body and in spirit. But he who is married cares about the things of the world, how she may please her husband. And this I say for your own profit, not that I may put a leash on you, but for what is proper, and that you may serve the Lord without distraction. But if any man thinks he is behaving improperly towards his virgin, if she is past the flower of youth, he's not being rude there. It's not a very good translation in the New King James. He's saying if she's irresistible. That's one of the translations. And thus it must be, let him do what he wishes. He does not sin, let them marry. Nevertheless, he who stands steadfast in his heart, having no necessity, but has power over his own will, and has so determined in his heart that he will keep his virgin, does well. So then he who gives her in marriage does well, but he who does not give her name in marriage does better. We'll stop there. What's Paul saying? He's saying, if you're single, the great thing about being single is you don't have to worry about anyone else. You can serve the Lord and give your whole dedication to him. And that's a wonderful thing and the highest call. And Paul, both probably the two main characters in the Bible, Jesus and Paul, were both single. So he's saying it is a great thing if that is what you've chosen to do. There's a prophet in the Old Testament called Jeremiah. And now, as the people go into exile, this is what he tells them to do. Build houses, dwell in them, plant gardens and eat their fruit. Take wives and beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons and give your daughters to husbands, so that they may bear sons and daughters, that you may increase there and not be diminished. So what Jeremiah is saying is, when when we're living in a foreign land and they were exiles, Peter calls us aliens, it's okay. It's okay to get married. Make a life for yourself. Build a house. Get married. Have children. God wants to bless you. So it's your choice what you do. Now, many people assume they're going to get married and want to get married. And that's what I want to talk about tonight really quickly. Just light. We've all been working hard all weekend. Okay, so here's a few thoughts for you. If they're of no help, you can press the delete key on me. In fact, I tell you what, I'm going to bring a microphone over. So, Diane, tell us, this is my friend, Diane. Tell us what you did in October.
Got married.
You got married? How cool is that? So I think you only told me a few weeks before you were going to get married, didn't you? We were out in the foyer and you said, "Oh, I just thought I'd mention to you, I'm getting married next week." She's very cool. So I asked her if it was okay if I did that, because marriage is for absolutely every stage of your life, and I love it that Diane has found someone and has got married. So, if you want to get married, you have to look. Okay, you've got to look who you want to marry. And girls, let me just say something. It's okay for guys to look. Guys, the problem is where we look. Okay? And so in church, let's get secure. Okay, let's get grown up and let's get secure. And that's why Paul says girls dress with modesty, okay, so that the guys will look at the right bits. That's what he's saying. He's saying, guys, look at the right bits. If you just want guys to look at your body, dress so they'll look at your body. If you want them to look at all of you, dress with the beauty that Jesus has given you. But guys, it's okay to look, and it's okay to go, do you know that girl is beautiful. Girls, it's okay to look and go, I think he looks okay. You know, He's good. You know, and now we've got to find a mature way of how we do that in the church. Okay, that doesn't become detrimental to people. And then we're not putting people down, we're always actually lifting them up and speaking well of them. And then if you want to go on a date, so you like someone, somehow you've got to let them know, right? So it doesn't magically happen. And hey, Tim, come in. Grab a microphone. Is there a mic for Tim? We were just talking earlier. Because Tim is a really clever guy. Okay? And so, when you, tell us about your first date with Jess.
Been married 12 years, friends, 12 years. Come on. When so many of you don't know my wife, Jess. She's literally about to have our third baby, so we're nearly there.
So the date actually worked?
The date was good, actually, yeah. It had longevity involved in it, for sure. I think one of the things that happened in our first date is that I didn't know Jess, fancied me, so basically she was like a party girl. She wasn't a Christian when she was really, really young, so she went to Magaluf when she was 14, all this jazz. But she was a party girl. She went to Kos, the Greek island Kos, and she basically, I had no idea that she actually liked me, so when she came back, she bought me a set of playing cards from Kos, which is a Greek island. So it had all like the cities and all that sort of stuff on it. And in our first date, we spoke about how I had no grid for the signal that she was trying to send off, that she actually liked me, and that I had to get my friends to give me a nudge and make sure that they actually realised that I was picking up on the signal, that this girl actually quite liked me. And then we had quite an interesting, it's quite a pretty swift journey, to be fair, because then like we all went out to a club one night. So after our first date, just as like Christians, like, and we went out to a club.
I didn't know Christians were allowed to go to clubs.
I mean, yeah, I think it's up to you. So, listen, if you go and change the atmosphere, go where you want. If you can't change the atmosphere changes you, don't go there. Bring the light of Jesus to the dark places, amen? And so after that, we came, I dropped her home because I was driving. None of us drank. We don't drink when we go to clubs. We just went and we prayed for people and all that jazz, but we danced as well. I was not a great dancer, to be absolutely clear. She was brilliant. And we came back, I dropped her off, and I was like, look, I'm going to go to university for 1 more year in Sheffield. Do you want to give this a go? She said yes. I kissed her. 5 years later, we got married. We've been married 12 years.
There you go.
Don't overcomplicate your lives.
Friend, guys are not always as self-aware of what is going on. So when Juliet had to ask me out, and I remember her saying a number of months afterwards, did you not notice I was in every small group you led? And I went, oh yeah, no. Yeah, I just thought you loved Jesus. You know, I didn't realize you loved me. Okay, so somewhere along the line, there's got to be a way of sending the signal. And I understand the high stakes it feels. So friends can help. That's not a cop-out. You can do like a recon, you know, and so if you want a date, you're going to have to learn to fish, which means you're going to have to ask someone on a date. Okay, you can't date on social media. Now, I know this is going to be a mystery to some of you, but I do think it's impossible. You have to actually go out on a date. And so you've got to ask that person. And so somehow, so what I want to say to you all is that if you never go out on a date, you're never going to find the person. And I want to say, guys, you know, always, you know, shoot above your pay grade. You know, because they might say yes. All right? And a date is not marriage. Let's just be clear. Right? Marriage is marriage. That's a bit down the line. I mean, it nearly was for Tim. But in general, a date is just going out and getting to know each other and having fun. So, and is it a leap year this year? It is, isn't it? Cool. Okay, so that means anyone can ask anyone out and to get married, all right? It only happens once every 4 years. Rest of the time, there's a lot more pressure on guys. So, girls, if someone does ask you out on a date, don't just go, because they might be the wrong person that's asking you out on a date. You may not like them at all. You may not have any feelings for them at all. Number one, don't put them down, because at least they had the guts to come and ask you, and they thought you were worth asking on a date. Now, if you think you might like to go on a date with them and you don't know them, ask your guy friends. Is it all right to go on a date with that person? They'll go and check him out. Preferably the bigger guys, okay? Because they will look after you. And I want you all to stay safe. This church is growing, a big site, and we don't know everyone. But if you tell the guy, and you're not telling them because you're laughing or you're wanting to put someone down. You're telling them because actually, why shouldn't I just go on a date? Because a date is about getting to know each other and talking and having fun. And you don't know if you see, once upon a time I had hair and I wasn't pregnant. Okay? Honestly, I was like this. I was much better than I am now. Okay, everything changes. Juliet has always obviously been gorgeous. She's not here for me to win points. But there was one point, twice in her life, where she did look like a whale. She was pregnant. I'm telling you, that is scary. Hold it, I'm in trouble. It's all on social media. Juliet's on the phone. I'm telling you, it's a scary thing. You marry this tiny, beautiful little thing, and she just starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm just talking. Thankfully, she got smaller and smaller and smaller. What I'm saying is, as we take the journey of life, our bodies change. And they're going to go through all different phases. And you are not marrying a body. Okay? You're marrying a person who is body, soul, and spirit. There is way more. So when you're choosing who you're going to go out on a date with, have some fuller criteria, because they might surprise you. What else did I put? And you find out about each other through conversation. Now, and now, I really do want to be kind here. Two things have happened to you over the last 5 years. COVID put people in isolation, and some of you, through some of the most formative years of learning to develop communication skills, you were isolated. And you were, so you couldn't go and practice and develop social skills. And even the people that did have social skills, because they didn't use them, lost them. So they're rediscovering them. The other thing that's happened is social media, where actually we communicate by text and messages as opposed to voice. So when my phone every week tells me how I've used it, do you get that? Tells you how long you've spent on social media. You know how long I've spent on social media? About 5 minutes. Do you know how long I've spent on the phone? Hours. Because phones were designed to talk on. And so I am much more used to talking to people. And I really enjoy just sitting talking to people. And so part of finding a husband or a wife is finding someone that you can talk to. And so when you go out on a date, the primary thing is to learn to talk. Now, I'm kind of old-fashioned. I think if you go out on a date, the guy should pay and drive, actually. Okay, and that's an economic thing that stops guys dating every girl in the church, okay, because they can't afford it. Because you just make sure they go on they take you somewhere expensive. And I think that the girls should help us with the conversation. All right? I'm just saying, girls, you are better at talking than guys. Do you know the difference in men and women? You know women are incredibly intelligent. In fact, all the studies I was hearing on the news today is that girls outperform guys at school. I forget what the percentage, but very high percentage. You are very clever. And the amazing thing about you is you don't have pride. Girls tend not to have pride, guys do. Which means if we listen to the things you say and take them as our own, you don't get upset about it. Guys fight over being right. They fight for position. On the whole, women don't. If most of my great ideas have come from Juliet. I'm not just that. I'm telling you, she's just much cleverer than me. Okay, but because she doesn't have pride, she doesn't mind me taking them. And we're one. So what I say is, if you go out on a date, help with the conversation. Guys, don't talk about yourself. Ask questions. There you go. Do you want to do this talk? So, and guys, if you're going to go out on a date, and especially if you've got a hot one, okay, have a list of questions. Because the last thing you want is to go out on a date and run out of questions, right? I got out of my first date. I took Juliet to see Clear and Present Danger. You won't even know the film. It's a great film at the cinema. And I just watched the film. And so I had to make good on the next date because I had no idea. I wish somebody had told me. I mean, I got over it. We figured it out. But she wanted to talk. I wanted to watch the film. It was a great film. So help each other by asking questions. If you ask questions, conversation will start to happen. Keep it light. Don't let your first question be, how many children would you like? Okay, Christians can be a little intense. I know we're worried that Jesus might come back tomorrow, okay? But the chances are it's next week, not this week, okay? And that's how we live, which means we have time to get to know each other. And you'll be surprised as you start to talk to each other that there is a depth in men. Okay, you just have to dig deep and try hard. All right? But so what am I saying? You've got to ask someone out, go out with someone who's safe. I'm assuming you're going to go out with a Christian. I mean, Paul later says that, don't be unequally yoked. Don't waste your relationship energy. Go out with someone that loves Jesus, and learn to have a conversation and talk and laugh. And what you want, how do you know if this could go any further? Well, you laugh. You don't get bored to death. If you get bored to death on the first date, it probably isn't going to work. So lightly let them down. Just say, do you know what? I don't think this is going to work. And it's okay to do that. And you've not invested much. Proverbs says, don't awaken love before it's time. You're not falling in love. You're just going out on a date. And you'll probably go on a number of dates before you meet the right person. You see, a date is not marriage. But when you go out on the date, remember you are dating your boss's son or daughter. Jesus, in case you didn't get it. So when you treat them how you would treat a son and daughter of Jesus who has died for them. You do not want to upset him. So treat them well. Be confident. Guys tend to be overconfident and assume they are amazing. Girls are amazing and assume people won't like them. So again, part of the journey is talking and realizing these differences. You know, even if you think God has told you you're going to marry this person, don't tell them. It'll freak. I had at least 2, maybe 3 girls that told me God had told them they were going to marry me, and none of them were Juliet. So one of the 2 was wrong. You know, either God was wrong or they were wrong. Emotion is a very strong thing. So don't over-spiritualize it. Just have fun. Enjoy yourselves. The reason you came to Jesus Christ was to live. And the world has a crazy way of saying how we live. What I'm saying is we have a better way. Relationships start with the chase, not the bed. You see, there is something fun about pursuing a person, pursuing a relationship that grows and starts to become established. So don't give your heart away until you're ready. Don't get isolated when you're dating. Stay in the community. Why? Because the community will help you. Because they'll very quickly see when a relationship is good or bad. You know, I would hardly ever intervene in your relationships. But there have been a couple of times when I've watched people go into relationships and I'm watching them both dive. Their anxiety's coming up, their health is bad, they're not doing well together. And a couple of times I've sat them down and gone and reflected back to them. You are not doing well. Since this relationship, you're not doing well. I mean, I think it's probably happened 2 or 3 times ever. But you want if you're in community, your friends will see, are you doing really well? Or are you diving as a person? Have you somehow got caught in something that's controlling? Or are you in something that's life-giving? And what I want for all of you is life-giving relationships. And then treasure the other person as a son or daughter. Be intentional. Remember, no one is perfect, especially you. So what tends to happen as we start dating or get into relationships, we start finding out the other person is not perfect. What you've got to decide, and you've got to understand, you're not perfect. God brings 2 imperfect people together to bring a completion. And part of the journey of marriage actually is we grow together in the perfection that God has for us. So iron sharpens iron. So I was perfect, Juliet was perfect, both in our own eyes, until we got married and the 2 of us came together and, oh my goodness, we loved each other, but we argued. I mean, we still argue. But we're I think, I mean, she's not here to defend herself, but I think we're more in love now, nearly 29 years later, than we were in year 1. We argued all the time. I thought, oh my goodness, what have I done? But there were 2 imperfect people coming together. So you have to understand that as you notice the imperfections, you've got to make a decision about them. There'll be some that you go, no, I can't live with that. Well, then that's all right. Don't pursue the relationship. But there will be some where you go, do you know what? We're just going to grow together. You know, they may not be the most, the best dancer in the world. But if they love me, I can teach them. They may not be the best conversationalist in the world, but I can give them a list. And because you see something more in them. Become friends. Learn to be affectionate without lust. That's all I'd say. Do life together and become best friends. So you date, you decide, I do or I don't like this person. You're not sure, so do a second date. But keep it really light. And you might do a third, and you're just checking this out. And actually what you're doing is your confidence is rising. And you go, well, what if everyone keeps finishing dates with me? Well, if that was to happen, I would talk to your friends and just describe the date and go, what am I doing wrong? And normally it's obvious. And they'll go, oh, you're doing this, or don't do that, or do this. But you have to take the risk. You have to take that step out and go, do you know what? I am going to go fishing if I want to find a husband or wife. I'm not going to wait for it just to happen. Hey, Rachel, come here. How did you and Joel meet? Yeah, give her a mic. How did Joel, many of you know Joel, he told me he was the catch of the church. He was the catch, Joel.
Sounds like Joel.
Yeah, well, that's right. How did you guys meet?
So we met at church. So Joel already was coming along to some of the stuff that these guys had planted the church they were doing, and I came along. We didn't really get on actually.
No, go on.
So if you know Joel, love him to bits, but he's a big personality. I was like, blimey, who's this guy? He's like attention seeking, taking over the room. And then I would get a bit moody and he'd be like, who's this girl? She just frowns all the time. And true story. So then, so we were like kind of in the same friendship group. And then after a while, he dated a girl for a while. I dated some not so good guys. And I just remember I went out for a coffee with him as a friend and just said, Joel, which guy should I pick, this one or this one? And he just said, both of them are jerks. They don't love Jesus. They don't treat you very well. Why don't we hang out? And I was like, oh. So I went to a friend.
Oh. Yeah. Go on,
Confidence.
just say that line again. Guys, get your notebook out. All right? Say the line again.
They don't love Jesus. Both of them are jerks. Yeah, just why don't we hang out? And honestly, we just did that. We just hung out, and he didn't say let's go into a relationship or go for marriage. We just hung out. We just honestly I just laughed for like 6 months.
Yeah.
We had so much fun. And then I remember dropping him. Okay, so this is a bit different. So he didn't have a car and he didn't have a job because of the circumstance he was in. But it was okay for me. I was like, I knew that there was a reason why. It wasn't because he was lazy. I think if it was laziness, I wouldn't have gone there. But I knew that there was a reason. But I just remember, I'll just share this. I dropped him off at Soul Survivor one time, which is like a youth camp, and he was serving there. And he said, so are we official then? It was about 6 months of hanging out. And I was like, no, like I'm not ready for that. He was like, okay, so it's cool for me to get some other girls' numbers and stuff this week. And I was like, absolutely not. So he was like, well, it's official, or I'm going to get some others' numbers. And I was like, it's official then. So then we went
wow.
out.
I like it. Thank you. Do you see this isn't an exact science? But you've got to go for it. I love that. Well, they're jerks. Just come out with me. Do you know, often the people we're most comfortable with, our friends, why do we overlook that? Oh, they're just my friends. You want to marry your best friend. The one that you go to when you need help. The one you take advice from. That's what you're looking for. How do you know? And now this is totally unhelpful. You just know. You do. I mean, you ask anyone that's married, and they go, how did you know they were the right person? You just know. Or in fact, you know when they're not. And you just don't, there is a realization that I think I could spend the rest of my life with this person. You don't know you could. If you marry them, you're going to have to, because you're going to make a covenant. And the thing that will hold you together is the covenant, actually. It's not even love. You make a covenant to be together as husband and wife, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. It's a covenant that keeps you together, because there'll be plenty of times when you want to walk out. There'll be plenty of times when it just feels too hard and you want to, I just need to get out of this, but you can't, because you've made a covenant with them and with God. So you're in this, and it's actually working through the difficult times that the covenant, the agreement that you have made, holds you together, and you come out the other side of the difficult times stronger. You see, until you're married, you don't have that covenant. You can walk away anytime. And I always say to people, if anything they're doing that's bugging you, when you get married, times it by 10. Because it gets worse, not better. Okay, remember, boyfriend 5.0, husband 1.0. Things change. But the thing that's going to hold you together is the covenant that you've made between you both and God. And you will grow in that through the difficulties and through the great times. That's what's going to hold you together. It's not going to be what you look like. It's not going to be the warm fuzzies. It's going to be the decision you've made before God that we are going to take this journey together. Am I making sense? And I want to say we've been married 29 years. I didn't get married till I was 31. I was quite relaxed, not getting married. I had a number of girlfriends when I had hair, and most of them just kind of lasted a few weeks. Had one girl, remember, she broke my heart. I know she broke my heart, but few, because I wouldn't have met Juliet. When Juliet was on the scene, it got a little complicated. So we're just starting to go out. I'm going to finish on this, but I just wanted to tell you, this is because it's complex. You look at people married and go, oh, they just met each other. Said, will you marry me? And they said yes. It just doesn't work that way. So girl that broke my heart, nowhere to be seen, just left me. Meet Juliet, kind of just start dating. She took me home to meet her parents. Her dad was so nervous, he drank 2 bottles of wine before I got there, because she told him the vicar was coming. And she was marrying the vicar, because I was leading the church then. He was so scared. He was an East London guy. He was so scared. So I arrive and he's pretty sozzled. And he's just telling rude jokes through the whole of dinner. And she's just dying. I mean, it didn't bother me at all. Anyway, that night at church, old girlfriend suddenly shows up who broke my heart. It's like they have radar. Okay, so she shows up. So I went and had a coffee with her. I didn't think. I didn't know. I know. I just didn't think. So Juliet's all upset that drunk father, bad first dinner, and I'm out with the girl that broke my heart. I wasn't even thinking I wasn't going to get back together again. She broke my heart. You only do that so many times, and I go, no more. You're not messing around with this heart. All right? I mean it. I mean, I'm stupid, but I'm not that stupid. All right? Know what, if you got someone playing with your heart, it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. Tell them it's off. All right? I mean it. Don't let people mess around with you. So anyway, I had no intention. And anyway, and then I got busy and I just forgot to phone her for a couple of days. I know, we're not very good at this. And then I remembered, oh, how you doing? And she's like, I thought we were over. I don't know, we're just getting going. But what I'm trying to say is these things happen in a relationship. And so we have to, we work our way through. But if the Lord is in it, okay, we walk with him. And so we got married really quick. So we started dating in September or October of 94, I think. I knew she was the one I wanted to marry, and the way I knew she was the one I wanted to marry was because all the ones that I didn't want to marry, I immediately knew I didn't want to marry them. All right? So on New Year's Eve, I proposed to her. So it was September or October to New Year's Eve, which she didn't answer. She left me hanging for 24 hours, but I'll let her tell you that story. We get engaged, and then we got married on the 24th of June. That year, so I think it was about 9 months. Because I knew. And I'm not into one of these long engagements, okay? I mean, I know, sorry, Tim. I mean, you weren't engaged that long, were you? One year. 10 months. Yeah, so I'm not really into long engagement. I think if you're engaged and you get married, you might as well get married. You might go, well, I was saving up to get married. Guys, you're saving up for the rest of your life. Okay, I mean, don't blow all your, and anyway, this is the marriage talk. We'll do that pre-marriage, but don't blow all your money on a marriage. Invest it in the rest of your life, okay? Anyway, so we were married. And during that process, we did a pre-marriage course. We had a number of arguments because the pre-marriage course was making us ask questions that we hadn't asked, like, do you want children? I didn't want children. I mean, they're a nuisance. I'm selfish, remember? And she said, what do you mean you don't want children? Well, I want children. Oh, well, we may have to have children then. But these things started we asked questions and we started talking, how are you going to bring them up? Are we, what are the ground rules? This was once we were engaged, of marriage. One of them was, once we were married, we would never mention the word divorce. We never have. That is a word we will not use. It is not an option for us, even when we're yelling at each other. It's just not an option because we've made a covenant. And in our marriage vows, we would be faithful for richer, for poorer. We were hoping on the richer. In sickness and in health, we're always leaning on the health. Okay, and for better, for worse. We're always believing the Lord for the better. But I'm telling you, we were dirt poor when we got married. I mean, we had no money at all. Most of you would be way better off than us. We did a bring and share lunch at our wedding, and it was in a little hall, and the whole church came. They just bought some food. That's where we started. We've been through ups and downs, but working through every down has brought our marriage up. We've been stronger every time. I mean, I'm not lying here. I'm joking. And we've had sickness, but the Lord has always brought us into health. And as we've done that, our marriage has grown and prospered, and I'm incredibly grateful for the Lord, and that's what I want for all of you. And it's now 7:30. We need to stop, so stand up and let's pray.